I'm John Skinner, and this supports Chapter 19 in my book Striper Pursuit, and that chapter deals with fishing for fluke from shore, and you can learn more about the book at striperpursuit.com. Okay, we're just dropping down. I've previously posted underwater videos fishing for fluke, also known as flounder in some parts of the country. I've posted videos using bucktails, strip baits, live killie on a floating jig head, and now we're going to do just plain and simple a live killie, which is like a small minnow commonly used for bait for fluke up in the Northeast, and just a killie on a hook, and see what the reaction is. So that was a pretty quick strike, and that's about the only type of strike you're going to see on this video, and it's pretty interesting because in the other videos these fish would follow for a long way, sometimes a minute, minute and a half, even 2 minutes. They would follow a bait without striking, and they'd look it over very carefully. What I've seen now, watching a couple hours of this video with the live killies, is the hits are instantaneous almost. They come up and boom, one shot, they hit it. And so that's definitely a difference from the other baits. Now what you saw there is that fish spit the hook out. Now this has been common across all of the baits. If you don't set the hook hard, if you don't set it properly, they spit it out. There was something there that was easy to miss. If you look to the right hand side of the frame, there goes a striper. I think this killie got hit on the way down and it's a little bit fouled, and it's not going to make too much difference. Now, despite how they strike the killie without hesitation, I can tell you from being up in the boat and fishing a bucktail rod alongside this, and we'll get to see just briefly the bucktail in the frame. It's actually off to the right. It's out of the frame of view. It was actually hard to get hits on the killie. The killie didn't attract the hits anywhere near the way the bucktail did. And I was like catching fish nearly constantly on the bucktail, and I felt like the rod that was sitting in the holder with the killie rather, took a while to get hit sometimes. And also, it was on the same trip that I took video of the killie on the floating jig head, and I had a lot more action on the floating jig head killie combination. That was a Fluke candy teaser from Jigging World, and you know, I realized I had probably plenty of video with the floating jig head, so I decided to switch over and try just the plain killie on a hook, and wow, the action just really dropped off for me. I didn't get as many hits. So it was interesting to see underwater that even though they follow other baits, the strip baits, the floating jig heads, the bucktails and so forth, they're really attracted to those things, and the killie just didn't attract them. But boy, when they came close to it, that was it. It was gone. It was just one shot, boom, gone. This video was shot with a Waterwolf camera, and one of the stores that carries it is J&H Tackle in Oakdale, Long Island, both in the store and online. The bucktail rigs off to the right hand side of the frame. That's what this fish is trying to get at. You can just barely see it there, and another fish going after the bucktail. So if you're familiar with my above water fluke fishing videos, then you know how I fish. I use bucktail and gulp, and here's one of the reasons. With the gulp, you don't have to worry about coming off the hook. So now I've got all these fluke around, and I'm dragging an empty hook through the water, and that's definitely not going to do me any good. And you've seen a few fish shake off this hook. This is a Gamakatsu octopus hook. I don't know that you can buy a hook that's sharper than that, but again, you need a firm hook set. And the way the camera is rigged up, I'm definitely not in a position to set the hook hard. So if you've watched closely, you've noticed some variation in bottom structure. We're over a clean sand bottom here. We were over mussels and shells before, and there's actually about an 8 or 9 foot difference in depth in those two spots as well. And yet this is a small area. I could cast from one spot to the other, and that's how close it is. And for this kind of fishing, it really pays to move around a lot. On this particular trip, the fishing was better. The fish were a little larger over those mussel beds in the deeper water. And then a couple days later, it was completely the opposite. But it typically pays to move around, try different spots. Okay, I hope you've found this video entertaining and maybe educational. And if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to my channel.